Hello and welcome to the IT Lab, where we build and test IT solutions. Today we'll be looking at Intune Remote Help. The purpose of this lab is to find out how effective Intune Remote Help is at providing remote support for the end user base. Intune Remote Help uses Intune Remote Help, which is a cloud-based service, and a local app that needs to be installed on devices. The main benefits of using Remote Help is that it's fully integrated with Entra ID, is easy to set up, and supports role-based access control, and also has the potential to use conditional access policies for an improved security experience. Let's take a look at the lab environment. A Microsoft 365 tenant is required. Intune and Entra Premium licenses are required. There's also these add-on licenses for Remote Help that need to be added for each individual that's either providing the Remote Help or receiving the Remote Help. And lastly, we need two test devices, one for the incoming connection and one for the device that needs help. In this lab, I'm using Windows 10 and I've ensured that it's on the latest version, and also Entra joined and Intune enrolled. There's a few steps in this lab, and the first one is to turn on Remote Help. It's tenant wide and we can configure it as shown here. So we're going into tenant administration in the Intune admin center. We go into settings, configure, and we enable Remote Help from here. Also, there's this option to allow Remote Help to unenrolled devices, which we choose here. Step 2 is to deploy the Remote Help app, and it needs to be installed on each device, both for the helper and the sharer. The Remote Help app can be downloaded from the Microsoft website. It's an exe file. And we'll also rename the file for ease of setting up in Intune. And here, if I pause, you can see it shows the file version, which is important when setting it up in Intune, so make a note of that. And we'll just rename the file. And now what we'll do is download the tool that's used to turn this exe file into a format that Intune recognizes. So we download the file here. And what we want to do is move both files into a separate folder on the C drive. Here I'm going to call the folder just app and save the two files in that folder. And now I can run the conversion tool, point it to the source folder, which is C app. And then the setup file is that remote help installer.exe. And we're going to output it to this same folder. Next, we're going to add this app into Intune. So we go to Apps in Intune, Windows, and we're going to choose a Win32 app type. And we select the package that we just created using the conversion tool, which is that one there. And we'll give it a name so that it shows up in Intune and it's intuitive as to what this app is. And the publisher is Microsoft. Here we need an install and uninstall command, and I'm just typing that in now. I've got this from the Microsoft website for this remote app. And it's going to be a quiet install, and we're going to accept the terms and conditions of the app. I'm going to copy that and paste it into the uninstall box and add the switch for uninstall as well. and I'm going to make sure that it's for a 64-bit architecture, and the minimum operating system is going to be 22H2, which is the version I have. And for the rules, this is how Intune knows whether the app has been installed on the end user device or not. So we're going to use the file type rule. We're going to give the path of where the remote app is installed on the device. And we're going to give the exe file name of remote help when it's installed on the end user device. The detection method is going to be a string, and this is where we need to put in the version of the app that we downloaded that I showed you earlier. This is the version as of when I recorded this video. Okay, so there's no dependencies and there's no supersedence. I'm going to assign this to all devices since I want all devices in this lab to have the remote app, local app installed on the device. Next, we'll think about the remote help permissions that we want to set up for our help desk users. So we'll have two tiers for this. One will be the admins on the help desk and one will be the agents on the help desk. The admins will want full permissions and the agents will only have view only permissions for when they're remoting onto other people's computers. The options available are elevation, view screen, and take full control. There is another option, unattended control, but that feature isn't available on Windows yet. The roles that we assign are in tenant administration in the Intune portal, and I've set up a help desk admin security group. So let's have a look at the groups that I've set up first. You'll see there's a help desk admins group and it's a security group. I've assigned one member to that group, which is Harold Finch. He's going to be our help desk admin person. I go into roles and I assign the help desk operator role. And if we take a look at properties and I scroll down, you'll see for remote help, this role has all permissions required for remote help. So to assign, I just need to set up a name for the assignment and then add the group, which is help desk admins. Again, I'm going to do this for all devices. And now Harold Finch, the help desk admin person, has the required permissions for full access when using remote help. The next one is the restricted permissions for help desk agents, and for that we need the user to be able to read stuff in Intune, so we can give this read-only operator built-in role, and we're also going to create a custom role as well, so that we can make sure that this user only has view screen permissions. Let's take a look. So we look at our groups again, and that's the help desk agents group, and in there it's a security group, and in there I have John Rees as the member of this group. Again, I go into roles, and this time I'm going to create a custom role, and I'll give it a name. And since this is a custom role, I'll also give it a description. And now within the permissions on this custom role, I go into remote help, and I only want to give this user or this group view screen only. And also within Intune, I need to be able to allow this user to offer remote assistance, so I give this permission. So this role is now created, and I just need to assign it to the help desk agents group. And if we go to properties, we can see it's got view screen and offer remote assistance. Assignments, assign again. I'll give it a name. And I'll add the help desk agents group. The scope is all devices again, and we should be finished with creating the permissions for help desk agents. The last thing I want to show you before I demo how remote help works is the troubleshooting that is available. So there are audit logs within the Intune portal, and you can see all the remote connections that are showing up there. There is also some session info, which is similar to what I just showed you, but you can see that in remote help and remote help sessions, and it will tell you some information about which workstation is connected to what. And lastly, on the end user device itself, you can go into Event Viewer, go into Remote Help Operational, and you'll have some logs there. Right, so let's have a look at the results. What we're expecting is that the remote help is turned on, which we've done already, and we've made sure that even unenrolled devices can be connected to. We've installed the app by converting the exe first and then deploying it through Intune. Now let's look at the end user experience when using remote help. So the first one is the help desk admin user experience. Let's take a look. So I'm going to log in as Harold Finch on a device, and I go into the Intune Admin Center, go into Windows, and see the devices that I have. I'm going to be logging into this user's workstation, and it's called Workstation 01. I'm going to open a few apps so it's easier to tell which workstation is which, and I'll go back to Finch's workstation in a second, and it's user workstation 1 I want to connect to. I click on that, and then I choose New Remote Assistance Session, and it shows me I've got remote help available. It now sends a notification to the other workstation, and you see it pops up there. And now I need to launch remote help on the admin workstation, and it will establish the connection with the other workstation, and it shows me I'm trying to connect to this user's computer. And it shows the user who's trying to connect. So this is quite user friendly. It gives assurance to the end user that it's not some hacker trying to connect to the machine. And now you can see in the remote help app, I can see the user's computer. I can use the laser pointer feature so that the user can see where I'm pointing to when I'm helping the user. There's also the option to annotate on screen, which I'll show you in a second. And so if I'm just doing a view only screen, I can just say to the user, click here, or this is what I'm trying to help you with, or this is where you should click next. So it's quite a useful feature. There's also the chat feature. In case it's just a remote session and you're not able to speak to the person for some reason, you can just chat as well with the user within the remote help application. The end user can click there and can send messages back. Okay, since I'm an admin on this computer, I should be able to request full control as well. Let's see what happens now. The user now has that pop-up appearing, and if the user then allows, Harold will now be able to control things on the computer just like that. So it's quite a smooth experience. So I'll end the session there, and the end user as well will see that the session's been ended. Now let's look at the experience from the help desk agent user, which should mean that full control isn't available and only view screen is available. So I'll log in as the help desk agent user, John Reese. I'll open up Intune Admin Center. I'll go to devices, and because I gave the role of read-only operator, this user can see devices. We'll go to that workstation again, and one thing to note here is that all these options are grayed out because this user only has read-only operator permissions. We'll now log into another user which John will be connecting to, and we'll just open the calendar app so it's easier to tell which workstation is which. And if John now looks to set up a remote connection, the only one available is new remote assistance session. As expected, we'll go through the same process. A notification should appear on the end user's computer. There it is. And the same authentication process will now happen seamlessly using Enter ID in the background. Okay, it confirms which workstation I'm trying to connect to, and this is where you can see that there's no option for this user to take full control because we only gave view only screen options. So we'll try to view the screen. The person will be told who's trying to connect, allow, and now John should be able to see the screen. And if we try and use some of these options here, you'll see annotation still works, and the laser pointer should still work as well. And chat also will work as well. If we look back at our results, we can see that Enter authentication was seamless in the background, and it authenticated both users when trying to connect. We could see that the helper details were displayed to the sharer. We could also see that elevation, annotations, laser pointers, chats, and full remote control were available to the admin user, but not to the agent user. So in conclusion, this lab was successful because it shows that remote help is quite a practical solution, and the experience through Intune is quite integrated and quite easy to set up and use. There is a slight problem with this solution in terms of the price. So the add-on licenses are required for both the helpers and sharers. If you've got a large organization, the costs will mount up. But what will likely happen is that admin users will be given licenses for remote help, and then maybe a pool of licenses can be purchased, and whenever someone needs remote help, that license is assigned to that remote person temporarily, just for that session, and then it's removed again. By doing that, you can save on costs using this solution. And then the other thing that I was considering when setting up this lab is, why not just use Microsoft Teams to provide remote help, because there is an option to take control there as well. The main reasons is that for smaller companies that might work, but for larger organizations, you'll probably need some kind of access control as to who can remotely control PCs. You'll want some level of access in terms of admin and view only permissions, and you'll probably want some kind of auditing so that you can show who connected to whose computer for how long. So I've given this lab a pass. And one thing to know is when you are trying to test this or use this in a live environment, to give it a bit of time before the remote session will work.